How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder. Today, we will be recapping last night's game between the Celtics and the Knicks, Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals. And the Knicks pick up the win 121 to 113. And yeah, it was a great game. And it didn't start out well. No, it did not. The Celtics continued to hit their threes early on, and it wasn't looking good. It was looking like it was going to be a repeat of Game 3. But unlike Game 3, where the Knicks really shot the basketball poorly, they still hung around. They kept the game close enough where you thought, like, okay, maybe they could rally and come back, and that's exactly what they did. And they probably played their best game of the playoffs so far, in my opinion. Definitely in this series, because when you look at the first two games, they go down 20 in both games in Boston, and they're able to rally and come back. But that was really because the Celtics shot the basketball poorly in those first two games. I mean, especially in Game 2 when they went 8 minutes without making a shot, and that allowed the Knicks to get back into the game and steal that game. This game was a little different. It didn't get quite as out of hand. It didn't get up to 20 points. It got to, I think, as much as 14 or to 16 points. But, the Knicks, this was a team win. Everybody, for the most part, showed out. I mean, definitely in the starting lineup. Jalen Brunson had his best game by far in this series. And, throughout this series, he would come alive in the fourth quarter, and he would help close the game out for the Knicks. But this was a game where he really stepped up and he played hero ball. On the night, he finished 14 of 25 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, and he finished with 39 points. He had 12 assists. And they got key contributions from their other starters as well. Mikal Bridges, 11 of 21, 23 points. Went one for 6 from the three-point line, but from mid-range, I mean, he was unstoppable. Karl Anthony Towns got into a little bit of foul trouble early, but he finished with a double-double, 23 points and 11 rebounds, 11 of 15 from the field. Josh Hart only had 6 points on the night, but he had 9 rebounds. And OG Anunoby, who I was calling on to have a big game, after the last two games, he had a combined 7 points, right? He was great. 8 of 14, 4 of 8 from the three-point line. He finished with 20 points. Mitchell Robinson had 8 rebounds off the bench. And Hakamich was a non-factor in this game. We didn't see Mitchell Robinson go to the free throw line once the entire game. And also, what was interesting is that the Knicks didn't shoot any free throws, really, I think until like the end of the first half. They did not take one free throw shot, which was very puzzling. But eventually, they got to the line. They finished a 9 of 12 from the free throw line. And Deuce McBride had a couple of threes coming off of the bench. I was getting frustrated with Cam Payne because he took some shots where I'm like, what are you doing? But the Knicks were able to get the win. Precious Achiuwa played a little bit as well in this game. He only played 1 minute. But like I said, this was a team win. And it just didn't look good early when you had Derek White. He started the game off 4 for 4 from 3. And, like we've talked about, once the Celtics start making their threes, you think, yeah, this is not good. The Knicks are not going to be able to keep up with this. But they were able to do that. And at one point during this game, you had Jalen Brunson and Jayson Tatum basically trading baskets, which was really something to watch. And speaking of Jayson Tatum, he finished with 42 points, 16 of 28 from the field, 7 of 16 from 3. But I wanted to get into, and this kind of put a damper on the win, and also when I get into the Yankees recap video later today, it also put a damper on that. Jayson Tatum suffered a significant leg injury late in this game. With about 3 minutes left in the game, the Celtics turn the ball over. Tatum is diving for the ball, and he just goes down. OG Anunoby ends up getting the ball and has a dunk that put the Knicks up at that point. I think they went up at that point. It was like 116 to 1. It was 118 to 106. I think that's what the score. Actually, no, hold on. 113 to 104. That's what the score ended up being at that point. And yeah, it was a non-contact injury. Tatum went down, and he had to be helped off. He couldn't put any weight on his leg, and yeah, in all likelihood, his season is over. Um, and this looks like this is going to be an injury that carries into next year. So you wonder what the timetable is for his return. But he really had an unbelievable game before he got hurt. And you know, the Knicks were already going to win this game. They were put in a position where they were going to win this game, even if Tatum didn't get hurt. So but now with Tatum being out, you would think this series is basically over for the Celtics. But it's tough. It doesn't matter what fan you are, who you root for. And I said this, going back to when I was doing the shows with GSMC as well. Injuries stink. You never want to see guys get hurt because it just ruins it. It ruins the game, and especially when you have a star player like Jayson Tatum going down in that moment. It's tough. It's tough, and I, thoughts and prayers go out to him, and hope he gets back. Hopefully at some point next year, and if not, then whenever he's healthy, to get back on the court, because he is one of the best players in all of basketball, and he's the face of that franchise. And he does receive a lot of criticism, but he's a great player, and he's a champion, and like I said, he's one of the best players in basketball, and you just hate to see that happen. So yeah, it did put a little damper on the win, in my opinion at least. But the Knicks were still able to get the win. They were in a position to win at that point, but yeah, it was tough to see that. It was tough to see that happen. So hopefully, he gets back on the court, at a later date, and makes a full recovery from the injury. Again, we don't know exactly what it is, but I think it could be an Achilles. So yeah, it was just unfortunate that happened in that moment. But back to this game though. This was the best game the Knicks probably played. And the Celtics, they are a very good defensive team, and they've given the Knicks problems in this series. Even in the games that they've won, where they've had to come back, they had to scratch and claw to get back in these games. But Jalen Brunson saw a lot of open looks last night, and like I said, he took the game over in the second half, and that was huge. That was huge, and the Knicks did a good job at out rebounding the Celtics. I think they out rebounded them 52 to 41, which was important. Because there's been a lot of times this series where they've just been sloppy, like with the turnovers, and then they don't get the rebounds, and give the Celtics opportunities to second chance opportunities, and then all of a sudden you see Derek White or Pritchard hit a three, and you're just like, you got to be kidding me. Every time yesterday when the Celtics took a 3-point shot, I'm screaming no, because I just assume it's going to go in. And for the most part, it did. Now, it did kind of slow down in the second half, but when we got towards the end of the first half, the Celtics, they went on, I believe they went on a 12-0 run. Yeah, they went on a 12-0 run to close out the first half. They hit 4 straight threes. And early in the first half, they were up 16-6. There were times where they just took the crowd out of the game. And you thought, yeah, here we go again. And just, how the first half closed out, you're just like, here we go again. But it was not the same as Game 3, because the Knicks were able to put it together, got key contributions from everybody, and they were able to get the win. And they have a chance now to close this series out and advance to the conference finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, for the first time in 25 years. And now with Jayson Tatum out, they should be able to get it done. But I don't want to completely write off the Celtics because Tatum is out, because this is still a very good team even without Tatum. Because you still have Jaylen Brown. You still got Pritchard. You still got Derek White. You still got Al Horford. You still got Drew Holiday. You still got all these guys. Kristaps Porzingis, who hasn't been great in this series, but still, you still have all these guys. You still have to respect this team. They're not going to just lay down and let the Knicks stomp all over them without putting up a fight. And the series is going back to Boston. And the Knicks, yeah, they stole the first 2 games, but, the Celtics now, they have their backs against the wall, and there's been times in this era where that's happened, and they have responded. We go back to a couple years ago. They were down 3-0 to the Heat, and they came back. Now, they didn't complete the comeback, but they did it. They did get it to 3-3. They did push it to a Game 7. It's going to be tougher now. The degree of difficulty has increased because you lose your best player, but they still have enough on this team where they could, still make this interesting. And then we go back to Madison Square Garden for a Game 6, which would be on Friday. So, yeah, it could be a big night in New York sports. If it goes to Game 6 and they're at the Garden, you also have the beginning of the Subway Series starting, which we will get into. I keep teasing it, but we will get to it this week. So, yeah, it's a big week in New York sports, that's for sure. But it was very important for the Knicks to get this win. Because the other thing, too, is, we didn't see a home team win a series yet. And, we did those shows with Ben. I said that it could be one of those series where, a road team wins every single game. And it was looking like that the first 3 games. But the Knicks said, no, we're protecting our home court. And Jalen Brunson, after Game 3 in his press conference, he talked about, the lack of urgency. Well, there was urgency last night. This is what the Knicks can do. When they play up to their capability, this is what they're able to do. And they might not be the deepest team in the NBA, because you look at the playoffs and you look at some of the other teams that are left, there are definitely, including the team that they're facing, the Celtics, the Knicks might not have as much depth. But their starting 5 can keep up with anybody if they play up to their ability. The problem is consistency. Guys have been inconsistent. Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, even Brunson. But when everything is clicking, this team could beat anybody. They can. And I wanted to talk about how the rest of the playoffs are looking right now. More specifically, what's going on in the other series in the Eastern Conference with the Pacers and the Cavs. It looks like right now it's going to be a rematch of the semifinals from last year. Pacers-Knicks. Because right now the Pacers are up 3-1. They talk about stealing a game. The Pacers stole Game 2 in their series with the Cavs. I had the game on in the background, but I wasn't paying attention to it. Because I was doing some work. And I look up and I see Tyrese Halliburton is celebrating. Because of the Cavs letting the Pacers... So Halliburton goes to the line, makes the first free throw, and puts them... And they're losing by, I think, 2 at that point. But then he misses the second, gets the rebound, hits a 3, and the Pacers end up winning by 1 in Game 2. And then, the Cavs, they win Game 3, and then the Cavs just didn't show up, and the Pacers won Game 4, and now they're up 3-1, and in all likelihood, their series is over. And the Cavs got guys banged up. Donovan Mitchell's a little banged up. So we could be heading towards that. And if you remember from last year, guys were dropping like flies for the Knicks in the series against the Pacers. And, Game 7, I remember because I was at my cousin's wedding watching the game, getting ready for it. And it was just, game got out of hand early. Because the Pacers, they were hitting all their threes. I remember that. They're a very good team. And, it's going to be a tough series. If this is what we end up getting, Pacers-Knicks, it is going to be a very, very tough series that I think will go 7 games again. But the Knicks are healthy this time around. So hopefully, being a Knicks fan, being from New York, they get it done this time around. But first, they got to take care of business. Get one more game here against the Celtics, and then focus on the next round, unless the Cavs storm back. Because, the Cavaliers, they've come back down 3-1 in playoff series. I know we're talking about the LeBron James Cavaliers, but, still, it's happened. It's happened before. Actually, I did want to bring this up, too, talking about injuries. OG Anunoby was grabbing his hamstring yesterday, and you thought the worst. You thought the worst. And this is, because he's a guy that has dealt with injuries over the course of his career, and he's a very important player. And if they lost him, I mean, that's a huge blow. But thankfully, he was able to come back into the game, and he made an impact. And like I said before, I was looking for that because, I mean, he was a no-show these last 2 games. I don't know what happened. But he showed up. Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. I mean, it's just, what more can you say? And Jalen Brunson, I mean, everybody's talking about it. This guy needs to get it. If the Knicks win the finals, everyone's like, oh, he's got to get it. He's got to get a statue. Which, I think is a little premature, but, I mean, he is a great player. I mean, you hear, the media personalities talking about it, how he's this generation's Patrick Ewing. Look, I mean, it's been a long time for the Knicks. They've been starving for things like this, for moments like this, for a player to take them to the promised land. And right now, they're 1 game away from getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you look at the betting odds, the Knicks have the best odds to make it out of the East right now. I think it was I forget which sports book it was, but I know one of my friends sent it there. I think they're like plus 115. So, yeah, but they got to go out there and do it. And they definitely can. They definitely can. They've been battle tested in these playoffs. They've been pushed around, and they've responded. And it goes back to the Pistons series in the first round. And after a poor performance in Game 3, they really came out with a different type of energy in Game 4. And they're on the precipice of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, things are looking up for the Knicks right now. Again, the Tatum injury, to me, put a little bit of a damper on it just because you don't want to see guys getting hurt. But, I mean, you got to be thrilled with what the Knicks are doing right now. And just one more game. Just one more game. Get it done in Boston, preferably. And, give you some time to rest up. And, await your opponent, whether it's the Cavs or the Pacers. I think, so Game 5 is tonight for Pacers-Cavs? Yeah, so Game 5 is tonight. The Cavs are an 8-point favorite. So let's see with their backs against the wall if they can get a win. And then you got Game 5 of the semis in the Western Conference between the Nuggets and the Thunder. And the Thunder are a 10-point favorite. That series is currently tied at 2 games apiece. And then last night, the Timberwolves, they went up 3-1 against the Warriors. Yeah, that series, I think, is over. And it's unfortunate because Steph Curry got hurt. Like I said, injuries, wish they didn't happen, but they do. It's part of the game, and we just got to live with it. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the game from last night. Knicks are 1 game away from getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I really hope that happens because we were robbed of it last year, but they got a chance to do it. But don't think the Celtics are going to go down quietly. They might be demoralized because of the Tatum injury. I mean, that's more than a gut punch. But they're still the defending champs. They still got some really good players that can go out there and take over a game. And, it's up to the Knicks to shut the door and close the series out. And hopefully they can get it done tomorrow night in Boston. So make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And, reminder, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, TikTok also. Make sure to give that a follow as well. And make sure to look out for the Yankee recap video that'll be coming out later today or shortly after this. I'm going to, work on that, talk about that. Yankees getting a win in Seattle last night. And, yeah, so, Knicks got a chance to close it out tomorrow. Let's see if they do that. So until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.